Good morning. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Mindset Monday. I'm happy you're here. I'm happy I'm here. Uh, Today, I want to talk about basic operations. And when I talk about basic operations, this would be a great live for any new business owner and a seasoned business owner that is looking to audit their operations and take a look at what they've had for a while maybe and time to update. So what spurred this topic is I'm on quite a few owners forums, and I see so many questions from new owners that I just think to myself, was there no pre-work done before a business was open that this would be a question in a group? And it's not about judgment. It's just a fact that when we are prepared to be successful, success comes easier than trying. It's hard enough when we are prepared to navigate things that we're not thinking of. So I want to talk a little bit to you new owners, and also existing owners if it's time to audit some of your operational pieces, practices, structures. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Things that I think, this is just my opinion, that you must have to run a sustainable business. And this is just the beginning because we're always creating new operations and systems. I mean, I've been in business, I'm going on 32 years on the 14th of this month, 32 years owning multiple businesses. And we're still creating new systems and practices. So things always come up that allow us to elevate what we do. If you're just jumping in, it's great to see you. Good to see everybody. If I sound a little raspy, I came back from my vacation, of course, with something. So, you got to get the lemon and honey in. So, all right, guys, a couple of things that I jotted down that are a must. We have to have these in our business. Employee handbooks, compensation and wage policies, job descriptions, hours of operations, expectations of how you want your business to run. You don't need to know everything. I don't know everything. Again, I'm going on 32 years. But let's do our homework around building a structure so that we have something to fall back on. When we're creating different practices like an employee handbook, like a job description, like a wage policy, it allows us as leaders to do a deeper dive into our business to figure out how we want things to run. If you're not thinking about it and you're just going to lease a space and open the doors and then go into an owners group and start asking people that know nothing about your finances, nothing about the history of what's going on in your business, how you should run your business, I think it's dangerous. Again, it's no judgment, so we can do better. And so there's three basic practices that I want to talk about today. And if you can institute these and take these on, it's going to help you to identify how you even want your business to run. So when you get questions, when issues come up, when client issues come up, when staff issues come up, you have something to fall back on instead of flying by the seat of your pants and then going to a Facebook group and asking people how much you should pay people. I mean, crazy questions. So when we do the pre-work, we're actually prepared for so many things that are going to come our way. You can guarantee that you're going to get a million questions from your staff and clients about how you want things run. It's my opinion that you do the work ahead of time to figure out in good part how you do want your business run. So I'm going to start off with the importance of an employee handbook. This is critical. An employee handbook, okay, the thought, if you don't have an employee handbook, of putting one together is daunting because It's a big project. But what you can count on if you don't have one is that there are laws in each state that are going to dictate what goes in your handbook. So it's not even a matter of whether you want it in there and don't want it in there, or like it or don't like it. That's just going to make up probably 65% of your handbook. So to get started with a handbook, you should just, what are the employment laws in your state? The other things that are great to put in your handbook, they're not necessary. It's not necessarily by law, but by putting some of these things in your employee handbook, you are helping yourself as a leader to determine how you want to run your business, what you want for your business, so that you can educate your team on that. So a handbook is a part of onboarding new people. It's explaining who you are, what is your mission, how you came to be, what you expect from them. And this should be a living, breathing piece of your business. So in your handbook, I think that it's nice to have a welcome and an opening. A welcome page would be, who are you and how did you get to where you are? So a new person reading it can know some history about their leader. I think that that would be great. Company standards. And company standards would be, what are the standards you want to set for your company? So when a new person is reading this, it's already in there, and then it's something you can revisit, but it's not something that questions are going to come out of the blue and you're not going to know how to answer these questions. You've already done the pre-work to decide what standards you want for your company. Now, there's also going to be laws in there that are going to dictate how you have to deal with things. So there's things that are just out of your control that just are what they are because they're the state law in your state. Hours, pay of your company, when your team get paid, how do they get paid? Is it direct deposit? Is it not? What are the employment laws around mealtime, meal breaks, and regular breaks, and clocking in and out, and all of these things? So those things go into your handbook. Benefits, what kind of leave? Now, again, a lot of this is going to be up to where you live in your state and what are the laws around family leave and all of the other types of leave. What benefits are you going to offer your team? Maybe you can't afford to offer benefits right now, but maybe you can. And so those should all be in your handbook. If you offer healthcare, maybe you offer 50%. What does that look like? What is it that you're offering? That should be in your handbook. If you offer pay time off, vacation pay, whatever it is, those things should all be in your handbook. Time off and leave of absence policies, standards of conduct, dress code, safety practices. Maybe your dress code is just that you want people dressing professionally, and you can elaborate on that. You don't necessarily have to have, oh, people have to wear all black, but whatever you want your dress code to be, how do you want people to show up in your business? I guarantee you there are going to be questions that arise or issues that arise around all of these things that if you already have done the work, then you can go back to the handbook. Now, for those owners that are on here, and I see a lot of you guys, good morning. Good morning. Tanya, Steph, good to see you. Ginger, Jennifer, Sam, good to see you. Laura. For those of you that have owned your business a while, it could be time for an audit to take a look at those handbooks and say, how relevant are the things that I put in there? And do we keep elevating and growing our business? So that what we try to do is we try to, throughout the course of the year, if we're going to make changes in the handbook, we usually launch it at our kickoff meeting at the beginning of the year. Half the year is over now, right? We're in July. Now is the time to start looking at, do I want to audit? Do I want to upgrade so that come January, whatever new laws are in that handbook, whatever new practices that have been upgraded or changed can be amended in the handbook again, so that when people are joining your team, they have to read that, and they have to, so that it's going to be helpful for you, so that everybody is on the same page. Some other things that are helpful to have in the handbook is an employee acknowledgement. That is the signature page. That signature page doesn't mean that the employee agrees with what's ever in there, but hopefully if they're joining your team, they will agree, but they may or may not have to like it, but they're acknowledging that they read it and that it's in their possession. We do ours digitally through a payroll company, so it makes it really easy. A non-disclosure and confidentiality agreement, an arbitration agreement and acknowledgement, a systems policy, substance abuse and drug-free workplace policy. These things should all be in your handbook. And now there's a new law coming up, at least in California, so I'm sure it'll be hitting the rest of the company, which is a violence and a safety plan in the workplace. So that's getting ready to be launched. So when we are onboarding our new team, this is a piece of the onboarding program in an orientation that you pick out practices from that handbook that are really relevant to day-to-day use. It's their responsibility to read the handbook and to sign the handbook. But in an onboarding or orientation, it's great to then go over the really important day-to-day pieces that are going to affect their employment. So let's see, did I put anything else on that? Yes, the other thing about having an employee handbook is if issues come up, which they're always going to come up, guys, when you put yourself in a leadership role, whether you are a leadership and an educator, I see quite a few of my educators on here, whether you're an owner or a manager, things are going to come up with students, with employees, with clients. You want to have something to fall back on. You want to have something that you've created. And sometimes things come up and I have to say, I'm going to have to get back to you on that. I have to go back and read through my handbook to see what's the practice around that for us. So I'm not making my decisions based on emotion. I'm making my decisions based on the fact of how we run our company. So fact-based, because emotions fly so high, guys, when things come up. The emotions just start railing. And so if we could have something that we have pre-done that we can go back to and use as a source, as a baseline to have a conversation, and even remind our team, hey, let's go back to this page in our handbook and reread what we all agreed to, what the practices of the company are, and then we can move forward. Again, handbooks and these kind of practices, they're going to change and evolve. That's just called business. Laws change and evolve. We change how we want to run our business. But this is super important that we have an employee handbook in place. If you don't have one and you think this is so overwhelming, how would I ever get one of these made? Well, you can go online and Google how to get an employee handbook started. That's one way. You can have AI help you do an employee handbook, and it could be state specific. They have legal, like LegalZoom and different sites that have platforms that you plug in your state, and it gives you a baseline, and it'll take you through step by step to create one. You can also get an employment attorney to help you with it. So it just depends on how much wherewithal you have, but I want to recommend that everybody have one. And if you already have one, just make sure that it is in fact the way you want to continue to run your business. There are different pillars in our business that we have to constantly be focusing on, and it's kind of like a juggling act. We have operations. This falls into operations, major. We have finances. We have to learn about all the things about our finances. We have education. What do people need in order to grow? What do we need as a company in order to grow, right? We have culture. We have leadership. I mean, there are so many different layers, and this is under the umbrella of operations. Super important. So job description is one of three that I wanted to just throw out there today. The second practice that I want you guys to take a look at and see if you have, or item, I guess I should say, is a job description. I don't know how many times I'm working with owners that don't have a job description. And to me, that is very basic. And I'm not saying that out of judgment. I'm saying it's a basic way to communicate. So when you're hiring somebody, you're able to hire based on the job, and the job has descriptions. Okay. So if we're hiring people because we say, oh, they have a pulse, I'm going to hire them, probably won't last a long time. But if we hire somebody based on what the job description is of the job that we're hiring for, meaning if we're hiring for front desk, what's the job description that I expect from somebody so that I can use it also as a training manual? What are all the things that I expect them to do? You guys, people can't read your mind. How many times do we get so pissed off because someone did something and they didn't read our mind? It wasn't written anywhere. Well, whose fault is that, right? That's our fault because we have the expectation that people are going to be able to read our mind, and they're not going to be able to read our mind. So for the job description, this is a living, breathing item too. When with our job descriptions, we use them for onboarding, and we use them for training so that when people come in, we know what we want them to do. So we take one item at a time and train them on that behavior that we expect to see. Your employee handbook and your job description create expectations for your staff. What is it that I, as an owner, expect from them? And what is it that you can expect from me? I think that that is a true two-way street so that we can get on the same page. We all want the same goal. We all have the same goal, which is to flourish. And we do that. That's just like in a relationship with my partner, in a relationship with my wife, or maybe your husband or your boyfriend or your kid, with my son. What are the expectations that we have in this household or of each other? Are they spoken? They have to be spoken in order for people to understand what the expectations are. So that's what a job description is. Excuse me. All right. You guys having any questions? How is this information landing with you? How's it landing with you thus far? So again, I prefaced this live today for those of you that are just coming in, for new owners, but also for senior owners, not senior as in your age, but that you've had your business a little while, to maybe do an audit on your business and see if it's time to elevate, upgrade your operations. All right. So any questions? How are you guys feeling about this? Throw it in the comments. All right, so we went over handbook. We went over job descriptions. These are basic pieces, you guys. And again, if you want to figure out, well, how do I create a job description? Start with AI, right? We talk about AI all the time. You hear people talking about it all the time. Type in a job description for a stylist in an employment-based hair salon and see what it gives you. And then you take that and you amend it and personalize it to your business. So that would be a quick way of doing it. Also, for job descriptions, you guys have heard of Beauty Backbone, I'm sure. So for Beauty Backbone has a bundle of job descriptions. You can just go on the website there and purchase job descriptions. It's a bundle. It has in it for assistants, for stylists, for managers, I think assistant managers and front desk. So I think there's 5 different job descriptions in that bundle. So you can buy a bundle from somewhere, or you can create a bundle. So again, it's just taking a look at what are the practices that we already have if you're existing. So Shelby, good to see you. Yeah, it's a good reminder that we have to just update it, because even if it's been a year and a half or 2 years, there might be things in your business that you've changed. And so when you're onboarding somebody, they're getting old information, right? All right, so we went over employee handbook, we went over job description. The third thing that to me is just like, I'm going to say the last, but definitely not least, is a compensation policy. I just want to let that drop for a minute, you guys. It's like, again, some of the questions I'm seeing about compensation are, how do you pay your people? What should I be paying people? And it's like, nobody is going to know how to tell you to pay because they don't even know what your overhead is to be able to tell you what you can afford. This is called pre-work before you open your business. And for those of you that have your business already open, if you do not have a wage policy, and I've seen this a million times too, we don't have a policy that states exactly what the wages are and compensation, how people get paid, how people get raises, how people get promoted. Hello, people. So then what happens is, and correct me if I'm wrong, we start making emotion-based decisions, not fact-based decisions, because we're feeling some certain way on some certain day. And then a month, 2 months, 6 months from then, you look back and you're like, what in God's name was I thinking? And how are you going to take that back? How are you going to go back on that? I have the most energy around this because it's really important that your team know how they get paid. They know how they get raises. They know what they need to do for themselves in order to be proactive about their future and their career. So a wage policy is something that's written out. This is how we get paid. This is what it looks like. If you have a level system, if you don't, whatever the case may be, that you have a policy that is stated when people get paid, how people get paid, how people can get raises, and that it's signed. They fully understand it. I mean, not only do we go over in an interview process how people get paid, because some people might say that's just a no-go if they hear it in the interview, and that's okay. I don't need to waste my time anymore with you. But we go over it in the interview. We go over it again during the onboarding process in detail, going through line by line by line how people get paid. And then when they go from assisting out to a styling position, we'll go over how they're going to get paid again. So super important that they understand. Angelica, good to see you. Ultimately, you have to make money to make money. Yes, I like it. You definitely do. And isn't it true, Angelica, that you need to know how you get paid in order to be able to capitalize and use that system in order to set your goals and continue to move forward? So, look, these, okay, the question is, how would you move forward for those who don't follow accordingly? Yeah, well, it's time to just get on board and do it, right? So these are 3 things that I'm going to recommend that you do now and put them on a list of things to do ASAP: an employee handbook, job description, and wage policies, people. So which one should you do first? I mean, maybe the compensation policy. I work with a lot of clients where I help them with their compensation policies. And um, I'm not a one size fits all coach. I've said this a million times. Look, I want to see what your ideas are about compensation for your company. And my goal when I'm helping people is that they're compliant in the state they live in. So what's the state law around compensation? And that you can afford to pay what it is that you want to pay, and we figure out a way forward. But to just pull it out of the air and hope that this compensation that you're paying people is going to work with your all your overhead and that you're going to make a profit. What is profit? You have to have profit. I did a live a couple weeks ago, and I did also a post that said profit is not a dirty word. You have to have money left over, which is what profit is, in order to continue to pay the upcoming bills, in order to pay yourself as an owner. I did not sign up for a nonprofit organization. That's not what I opened. So what is it that I can pay with the overhead that I have so that I can create a practice to then present when I have people wanting to work for me? I've seen so many comments. Again, I know I have a lot of energy around this, but some of these owners forums where people are talking about staff demanding this and changing this and that and that. And I'm like, well, what's the initial practice? I've just never had that in 32 years. So there must not be one. And I want you guys to have one. So Shelby says, I have an offer letter, level pricing plan, and accelerated commission structure, and this is a must. 100%. People know what they're getting into. Money makes people get funny. Clear agreements, check-ins, and plans and goals. Absolutely. After you have your compensation policy, then you can help your team set goals to make that money. That's 100% a non-negotiable. So if someone is asking, which is how would you move forward? I would say start with a compensation plan. If you need help with that, please DM me and I could see if there's something I can do or I could direct you to the right people to help you with that. But it is just a complete non-negotiable. Now, for those of you that live in the state of California, you know what a shit show it is. Compensation has changed so much legally over the years that we have had to pivot a million times in order to stay compliant. But that's what the job that we take on as a leader. We can't control those things, but we have to make the best out of what's given to us. So look, I said this at the very beginning. It sounds like a daunting job to get these operations in play. And it is a little bit daunting, guys. I mean, I'm not going to lie and say it's easy as pie because if you guys are stylists like I am, but I'm also a business person, it's hard for me to sit down for a long period of time and like focus on one thing. I swear. I mean, I'm like, so to finish a project, I have to get a deadline. And it's a good thing to get a coach also so that you have accountability. Stepping stones to get some of these things done and have something to have somebody have a second set of eyes on it to say, what am I missing? What am I looking at? Since you know my whole story. Again, I'm just warning you to when people are throwing these questions out into these groups and a million people are going to give you a million different answers, but they don't know the background of what your operations even are. Oh, it makes me worried, guys. It makes me worried. So, look, God, it's so hot in here. Am I having a hot flash again? My next live will be on menopause. Anyways, look, our 30 minutes is up. Um, Employee handbook, job description, so you can train people, okay? The employee handbook is so that you yourself are creating a training for yourself as an owner. This is going to help you to make decisions in the future. Job descriptions, set your expectations out, guys. And then a compensation plan, for God's sakes. I'm going to just say start with that if you don't have any of these things so that you can launch that to your team. If you need help, feel free to reach out, DM me, and I'll see if there's something I can do or refer you out. I hope this helps. I hope even my seasoned owners out there, I hope you took a nugget or two. Look, when I do these, I'm like getting ready to go back to mine and do some updates and upgrades. So thank you for all your comments. Angelica, it's great to see you. Shelby, Con, let's see, good. Jennifer, good to see you guys. Look, I'm so blessed to be able to spend this time with you. If you think that this was an important topic, share it, put it in your different groups. And looks like Milo thinks that it's a super important topic. Have a great day, guys. Bye. What is it?